What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Alex Wilson. And the New York Giants are coming off of a very disappointing 2023 season. They missed the playoffs after making it in 2022, and now this offseason, they've done some work to upgrade the roster, but where do they stand? According to Pro Football Focus, they don't stand in the best position. According to ESPN, also don't stand in the best position. The power rankings are not looking good for our New York Giants right now, so we kind of want to react to some of these power rankings and discuss where we think the New York Giants should rank in accordance with the rest of the league. And in particular, on the ESPN power rankings, they had a very interesting team one spot ahead of the New York Giants, and I got a little bit of a beef with that, so I do want to call that out and have a discussion on that. But overall, just having a discussion on the expectations for the Giants this season and how confident we're feeling in them going into 2024. But before we dive into all that, make sure to leave a like if you enjoy this episode, subscribe to the channel if you're new, ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you listen to Apple or Spotify, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, Alex, how are you doing today, my friend? And the Giants ranked at number 28 in ESPN's post-draft power rankings. How do you feel about that ranking? Do you think it's fair, too high, or too low?
I'm doing pretty good, and look, I think the Giants are right where they belong, mediocre, until proven otherwise. To be quite honest with you, I'm tired of giving them higher ranks because we think they're going to be better, because they added this player, added that player. It's not about who you add, it's about how they play. It's about how you perform. And ultimately, the Giants have underperformed and underdelivered every single year aside from that one postseason appearance where we beat up on some bad teams. And obviously, right now, we're kind of looking at a situation where I think we're going to be better, and we'll talk about that. Obviously, the defensive line, offensive line, Malik Neighbors, you bring in some key core linchpin pieces, you expect to be better. But you also have to utilize that talent. You have to maximize that talent. Until we see the tangible results, the numbers on the screen, and the numbers on the field, I'm not going to sit here and act like this team is going to be above average or even average at that most. And we've given them so much credit for moves. We haven't given them, I guess the best way to say is we've given them lots of credit for making the right decisions in terms of acquiring players. But then they turn around and punch us in the face with bad performance or injury prone or mistakes or, just no consistency, no competitiveness. We don't compete against competitive teams. We don't really show up in primetime games. That has to change. This team needs to fight. If you're a Knicks fan, I know we got blown out in the last game, but you see the way that this team fights, despite the fact they don't have Julius Randle, despite the fact they don't have OG Anunoby, despite the fact they don't have Bojan Bogdanovic, despite the fact that they don't have core pieces, they show up most 99% of nights and they compete and they put in the maximum effort. There is no reason that these guys should not be putting in maximum effort. And there are times that you watch Giants games and you can tell they've given up before halftime. Dallas, week 1, they gave up before halftime. They lost Andrew Thomas, and at that moment, they simply gave up. They started making dumb mistakes. They started not playing their game, not playing the game of football the right way. They started taking unnecessary risks, and we saw players regress instantly to what they used to do, not to what they should have been doing. So this team needs to be able to handle adversity, and they've been very poor at that over the last 365 days. Very, very poor when it comes to handling adversity. And I think that that's a testament to their character. And I hope that they've brought in some good players who will, in those big moments, make big impacts, make big plays, whether it be a strip sack, whether it be a big touchdown, whether it be a first down, whether it be running the ball an inch to get a fourth and goal or fourth and inches. You know what I mean? Those little moments, those little plays are big impact plays in football. So, why do the Giants rank in the bottom half of the league? Why do they rank in the bottom 5 teams in the NFL? Because they have not proven that they deserve to be any higher than that. Now, I do agree with you. Washington being above us, that kind of doesn't make sense to me, given the fact that we beat the crap out of them every single year and we are a bad team. You look at the moves they made this offseason, Jaden Daniels and obviously Austin Eckler, they made some big time moves. They got a lot better objectively. But the reason that they're ahead of the Giants in the polls here is because whoever's making the power rankings believes that Jaden Daniels on day 1 is better than Daniel Jones in year 6. That is the reason they are better in the power rankings, in my opinion. And you guys know my opinion on that. I love Jaden Daniels. I wish we would have got him. Obviously, the cards did not fall in our favor in that regard. But Anthony, when you're looking at kind of this team, why do you think they deserve to be in the bottom 5? To me, it's because they don't deserve to be any higher than that. And they don't deserve to, get that level of optimism until they've proven otherwise. Last year, they were 14th or something going into the season, and they completely dismantled that power ranking and dropped like a rock They have to earn it. You got to earn your right in this league. You got to earn your way up to the top, 15 or above average teams, and they have not even shown close to that level of performance.
Yeah, honestly, I think that the number 28 ranking is fair. The Giants are objectively, in my opinion, a bottom 5 team in the NFL. You look at this roster, and there are still holes. I mean, we talked about a couple yesterday, how the Giants still haven't even solidified that second starting defensive lineman position. Yeah, obviously they have talent on the edge. They've got a great linebacker in Bobby Okereke. They have another good one, Micah McFadden. But their secondary, very unknown. How much talent is truly there? Like, obviously, we believe in Deonte Banks going into his second season. Think he's going to be a stud. We believe in Tyler Nubin, new rookie safety coming into the league. But how good are those players really going to be? Jason Pinnock going into his second season as a starter. It's a lot of unproven talent in the secondary, and that's kind of a theme for the entirety of the team. Like, even when we look at that receiving core that we really like right now, Alex, Darius Slayton is a proven talent. Malik Neighbors hasn't played it down yet in the NFL. While I think he's going to be amazing, he has to prove it. Jalen Hyatt, an unproven talent. Wan'Dale Robinson, in a few ways, still kind of unproven, hasn't really given a full sample size of a season of consistent play yet. So, and then don't even get me started on the unproven nature of the offensive line and the quarterback positions, right? Like, we don't know what we have there. And no matter how much you believe in Daniel Jones, if you really think he's going to be a star coming back from this injury, you have to admit that there is an unproven, he is unproven in many ways, and there is a shroud of mystery surrounding him because of his injuries. You don't know for sure that he's going to stay healthy this season, and so that just creates a big question mark surrounding the New York Giants offense. And everything combined here just makes you say, I don't know if the Giants can actually put together the season that they're hoping for. They're going to have to play way above expectations. So being number 28 in the power rankings, I think it's fair to their expectations. The only issue that I have is what you mentioned, though, Alex. I think they should be 27 because I think you should just flip-flop them and the Washington Commanders. I don't know how the Giants sweep the Commanders last season and are behind them in the power rankings. Now, I understand that power rankings are often what did you do in the offseason to add talent to your roster, and the Commanders definitely added talent. They got Bobby Wagner at the linebacker position, but in my opinion, he's a bit old. I like Bobby Okereke more, and Jaden Daniels obviously at quarterback for the Commanders, but again, very unproven talent. We don't know that Jaden Daniels is immediately going to step in and be a great player for the Washington Commanders, and I think that the Giants added just as much talent on both sides of the ball as Washington, if not more, through free agency and the draft. So I still think that the Giants, considering they had 2 more wins than the Commanders last year, had 2 wins against the Commanders last year, finished 3rd in the division. Commanders finished 4th in the division. That's the only gripe that I have with these ESPN power rankings. I mean, if you look at some of these other teams that are ahead of the Giants, like Las Vegas Raiders, Tennessee Titans, it's negligible. Like, it's 50-50. You could just call it a push. Maybe the Giants are better. Maybe they're worse. Just the one thing that I know, I think the Giants are a better football team right now than the Washington Commanders. But outside of that, there are not a lot of praises that you can sing for this Giants team as far as power rankings go because they have not proven much of anything. Again, Alex, you make a great point. They have brought in talent this offseason. Brian Burns, big blockbuster trade. Awesome upgrade on the defensive side of the ball. Have to see him play for the Giants, though, because we've seen the Giants make blockbuster moves before. Kenny Golladay ring a bell? That was a blockbuster move. That didn't really pan out. We've seen it happen. How about trading down, taking Kadarius Toney? Didn't pan out. And I know those were from the Dave Gettleman regime. It's not exactly the same comparison, but still, it's just we've seen this before with the Giants where they make these big splash moves. They win the offseason. They make the best move of the offseason, and sometimes it just doesn't pan out that way. So for the Giants, despite all of the upgrades that they made this offseason, I do think it's tough to really move them that high up the power rankings without actually seeing it on the football field. And especially considering the schedule that's going to come out tomorrow evening. And if you look at the Giants' opponents for 2024, they do have some tough matchups. I know that they play Baltimore. I know that they're probably going to be playing in Germany, is what the rumors are indicating. But they do have a difficult schedule upcoming, regardless of what weeks they play each team. The opponents are tough, and this is a Giants team that really struggled in the 2023 season and had one of the worst offenses in the league for several weeks. But Alex, looking at the power ranking, right, number 28, where can they take that big leap? Like, where exactly on this roster? Obviously, we said they upgraded an edge rusher. Their defensive line looks a lot better, but they're still at 28. What needs to perform at a much higher level in 2024 in order for the Giants to fly up those power rankings?
it's objectively going to be their offense, right? Like that's the first and foremost, the offensive line. And I think that, I think it was Harbaugh that said recently, there are a lot of other positions that rely on each other to be great. Wide receiver relies on the quarterbacks. Wide receiver relies on the offensive line. The quarterback relies on the receivers to catch the football, relies on the offensive line to block. But the offensive line is the one position group that doesn't rely on anybody else to succeed, right? They are alone. They have to succeed individually to be a good unit. And that ultimately kind of steers us in the direction of like, where do the Giants have to improve? Well, if their offensive line improves, their entire offense is going to get better. I know Saquon Barkley's gone, but we don't really care about that because this team needs to be good in the passing game. If their passing game improves, we'll see massive improvements in their power rankings and their points per game. Like we'll see this team actually take steps in the right direction. With that being said, the additions they did make, John Runyon, I've spoke about him many times, wrote many articles, guys, if you don't recall. He is not a right guard. He is a left guard. Green Bay played him at right guard because Elton Jenkins moved over to left guard, and he's just a great player. Runyon played pretty well at right guard, despite the fact that's not his traditional position. He's an above-average pass-protecting left guard, and he's a durable one at that. He's played like multiple seasons with over 1,000 snaps. So you love to see that. He is going to be an upgrade. Andrew Thomas, buddy, you're about to get the best left guard you've had probably in your career. Like that's like crazy to say because Runyon's like, he's good. I'm not going to say he's great. He's a good pass protector. It is sad that this is the best we've had to offer Andrew Thomas up to this point. We're 4 or 5 years into his contract, or 4 years. So, or to his rookie deal. So we love to see that for Andrew Thomas. John Michael Schmitz, he's finally going to get a situated left guard next to him. Someone that he can look over to his left and say, at least I can trust this guy. I don't even know who the hell this guy is. They plucked Justin Pugh off the couch and he's playing left guard one day, and John Michael Schmitz is like, who the hell? You know what I mean? That's where we were last season. So you look at the right side, Evan Neal, buddy, gear up for a position battle. It's time to earn your job. Everybody, earn your freaking jobs. You're not handouts anymore. You want to be a team that is not 28th in the power rankings? Let's go have players that earn their job and not just get handouts because they were draft picks. Again, I get why Evan Neal got 2 years to compete because he was a 8th overall pick. Like that is totally reasonable and logical. But now you see 2 years, inconsistent performance, injuries. They signed Jermaine Illuminor to a very, very good deal. 2 years, $14 million. Like absolute steal for him, in my opinion. And he wants to be a Giant. He wants to play here. He's a hometown guy. This is going to be a very difficult battle for Evan Neal to win. And I think Jermaine Illuminor is going to win that job because Evan Neal, like the Giants, has not proven that he has earned that job. And he is going to have to take a massive step forward. Massive. Not even just a stupendous amount of growth for him to win over Jermaine Illuminor. Now, I think he should be cross-training at guard right now because he needs to be ready for the fact that he may get pushed inside. You know what I mean? He may have to change his position. And if he doesn't want to do that, Marcus McKethan, Josh Azudu, whoever else. I know the Giants brought in a couple other veterans. I think they signed 5 free agents to the offensive line. It starts with the offensive line. Nobody else is relying on them to be good. They have to step up. The receivers will benefit. The running game will benefit. The quarterback will benefit. The tight ends will benefit. And the defense will benefit because the defense will be on the freaking field all game long. So as long as the offensive line performs well, the entire team will perform better. So that is where it starts and that is where it ends.
Yeah, I mean, you're totally right about that. And I like the point that you made up about what Jim Harbaugh said, where everybody relies on the offensive line relies on itself. And it is true that so much of this game is predicated on the trenches, which is why I'm very happy that the New York Giants made it a point of emphasis to bolster their trenches this offseason on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. Adding Brian Burns and, making some of those improvements there on the defensive line, that bolsters that unit, improves the trenches for the Giants. But you are right. If there's one unit that's going to make this team go up the power rankings, it's going to be the offensive line. And I would also argue the quarterback. I think that a lot of the problem here is that the narrative surrounding Daniel Jones has gotten to a pretty bad space. I think that most outlets, ESPN included, putting them at 28 in the power rankings, they don't really explain why the Giants are that low in their little blurb on the article, but you do have to factor in the fact that ESPN has been not very kind towards the Giants quarterback situation this offseason, and that's probably one of the reasons why they're so low down at number 28. But you do have to acknowledge that exactly what you said, Alex, the quarterback position is not going to be any better if the offensive line is terrible. So the Giants do need to make sure that their offensive line performs at a higher level this upcoming season. And I think that new offensive line coach Carmen Bristolow will be a huge part of that. If he's able to get some more out of these younger talents and develop them, those guys take those steps forward, I think that we can definitely see an improved play from the Giants offensive line and consequently from the quarterback position, the running back position as well. I think that's an underrated talking point. Not a lot of people talk about how bad the Giants run blocking was last year. They gave up the 85 sacks. They were terrible in pass protection, but they were also really bad in run blocking, and Saquon Barkley had to fight for a lot of his own yards there, had a lot of yards after contact. If the offensive line is a little bit better in the running game, Devin Singletary can have a very good year. Maybe we see some good snaps from Tyrone Tracy as well. The Giants' offense is just going to be way better if their offensive line is better, but I do think that the key to making that offensive line great is Evan Neal. If Evan Neal can just take a step forward, become an average player, that's all he needs to be, is just average. The Giants' offensive line will have a domino effect that makes everything fall into place. Evan Neal becoming a starting right tackle means Illuminor can play right guard. He's an upgrade there. That means Runyon can play left guard. He's an upgrade there. And that means that having two stable veterans on either shoulder of John Michael Schmitz makes him better. Plus, you still have Andrew Thomas at left tackle. The key is Evan Neal panning out at right tackle. And I'm not saying panning out and becoming the beast that we thought he would be when he was drafted number 7 overall. I'm saying just become average. Evan Neal becomes average. The Giants offense flips. Day and night difference. It's going to be such a better unit. So I'm really hopeful that he does take that step forward. I know that he's been at the voluntary workouts and he's been putting the work in. So hopefully it bodes well. And, again, Carmen Bristolow has done a whole lot in the past to develop offensive line talents. If he can find that next level from Evan Neal, I think this Giants offense is going to be much better, and then they'll fly up those power rankings. Hopefully they'll pick up some wins and become a very solid team. So that's what I'm looking forward to, and I'm really thinking that is the key for this New York Giants team. But Alex, anything else that you could kind of think of when it comes to power rankings and just your overall thoughts and opinions on the Giants before we get this schedule coming out tomorrow evening?
Yeah, I mean, look, the Giants have a lot to prove. Brian Dable, Joe Schoen need results now. They need to show that this team is trending in the right direction. They need to show that they're developing players adequately. They need to show that their decision-making is resulting in, positive and not negative. That is going to be what this season is about. I don't think this team is a playoff team. I don't think, barring just mind-blowing levels of growth and consistency and discipline, I don't think this team is a playoff team. I think this team is maybe a year or two away from getting it right, but they're so far away. If you look at the Lions and how fast they got on their horse, Campbell got them disciplined and got them playing for each other, and the Giants are just playing for contracts right now. You know what I mean? They're just playing to play football. It doesn't look like this is a brotherhood. The Lions are a brotherhood. Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams and Jared Goff and Jahmyr Gibbs and Jordan Montgomery and all these great players, Sam Laporta, and on the defensive side, Hendon Hooker. You see so much talent. And these guys are playing for one another. The contracts are good. The draft picks have been excellent. They're getting impact from rookies. The Giants aren't getting any of that. They've had a couple good contracts now. Brian Burns, Thomas, Dexter. You're seeing some good contracts start to populate, but these guys need to play for each other now. These guys need to play like the New York Knicks do when they're injured. Step up, compete, play well, and most of all, Daniel Jones, this is your chance, man. This is really his last chance. If they actually play him this year and he gets the starting job and he runs with it, this is his last chance to prove that he can run this team, that he can be the quarterback the Giants signed him to be a year ago, 2 years ago. So it really comes down to, can he bounce back? Can the offensive line hold up? Can the receivers provide him with weapons, with open arms and allow him to produce? Not on the ground, by the way. He's going to have to do it through the air. His running game is going to be limited because of the ACL tear. They're not going to want to push him, especially with the injury clause. It's going to be him standing in the pocket, having to throw the football. That has been his biggest problem at times, is progressing through reads, maneuvering around without just running instantly. He has to stay in the pocket, deliver accurately, and, hit his deep shots, hit his shots downfield. He was wildly inaccurate last year throwing the ball deep. So he's got to turn back the clock, show us the best version of himself every week. This can't be we see a really good Daniel Jones in week 1, and then week 2 he regresses 5 years. You know what I mean? It's got to be we have to see him getting better and better and better and better. It can't just be this volatile mess of up and down and up and down. He can't sustain it any longer. So this is his last chance. We're rooting for him to step up, hopefully. But, for now, the Giants are still a ways away from being that great team. I think that we're trending in a better direction. We have some really good pieces that we have in place, and we still have all of our draft capital for the future. So we'll see what happens. But, right now, this is about taking steps forward and not taking steps back. And the Giants took 20 steps back last year. And now it's about regaining that ground and trying to be a competitive team that isn't a pushover every single week.
100%. Baby steps, I guess, for the New York Giants. They're not going to become Super Bowl contenders overnight. This is, in fact, a rebuild, but hopefully they take those steps forward this year and then can put things together going forward. I mean, who knows? Maybe the Giants shock us. Maybe they're the underdogs that come into the league this season and just kick ass. I would love to see that happen, but it is year 100, and I'm just hoping that this year 100 isn't a 3-win season for the New York Giants. That would be absolutely brutal if they're celebrating their 100th season and they only win like 3 years. They got to be better this year, man. They got to at least put together like 7 wins, be a respectable, competitive team down the stretch. Like, I need that to happen, especially in this 100th season where we're celebrating. I really, really would hate to see the Giants have to fire coaches or front office executives during their 100th season. Like, they just got to get things right this year. I think it's so important, and that 100th year milestone really should put some added pressure not only on the players but on the front office and on the coaches as well. They got to deliver this year, in my opinion. I think it's ultra important, but it's going to be fun talking about this team throughout the offseason and of course into the regular season, and we're going to continue to provide you with every single update, piece of news, content, info, everything right here on Fireside Giants. So make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this episode. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you're listening to Apple or Spotify, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, we'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.